And we're live. Can you hear my music?
Yes, I can.
Hello. Welcome everyone to another episode of Objections. If you missed the last episode, I feel sorry for you because it was a heated debate on whether or not God exists. And I think you need to see what I think about God. And you can see that on Talk with Frank Goodin's page, my guest, my partner in Objections.
What's happening? So glad to be here with you again.
Again. Is this not the best show ever? Objections is the best show ever. And you're probably like, why? There's a bajillion shows on YouTube. Because we don't embellish here. We don't give you the BS. We don't take sound bites and make entire stories. And we don't misquote people, okay? We give it to you like it is because it's very important that we do because you are coming to object. And we don't want you to object to some BS that was never said or never done. So again, familia, welcome to Objections. This is the theme music for today. If you know anything about hip hop, you know what this song is, right? Now, I
Old
can't play the
school.
whole, right? I can't play the whole thing with the lyrics because the copyright BS. But yeah, you know me is OPP. That is the song. Naughty by nature. OPP. And OPP is basically the theme of today's show. If you're looking on the bottom, it says, are open marriages more realistic than traditional? But we're not just talking about that in general. We're here because if you haven't heard, Will Smith's last interview with GQ magazine, he finally admitted and revealed that him and Jada Pinkett Smith have an open relationship. There's been speculation for decades. There have been rumors for decades. And then there was that profound red table talk where Jada Pinkett spoke about cheating with August Alsina, who was a friend of her son's, and they brought him into the house because he was a troubled boy. And we all know the rest of the story. Jada got into an entanglement with the young man. But we're not here about Jada's entanglements. We're here about the Smiths' entanglements. Now that it's been revealed by Will Smith himself, yes, they have an open marriage. And if you haven't read the interview yet, it is amazing. It's really long, but it's amazing. So again, let me welcome Frank Goodin from Talk with Frank Goodin. As you guys know, we do objections all through the week, sometimes on his page, sometimes on my page. You will not know where we are unless you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Okay, guys, so let's get into this. Frank, first of all, welcome. I'm like welcoming you to your own damn show.
I feel welcomed.
Okay. So welcome. Anyway, I know I said a mouthful. As you guys know, I'm still getting over COVID. So my voice is a little, you know what I mean? It's not all the way, it's not Puerto Rican 100%. It's like Puerto Rican 75, right? Can you imagine this is 75?
Wow.
Be afraid. Okay, so Frank, always good to see you. I mean, I know this is our show, but I love the show. Like I like being a part and watching the show myself. It's that entertaining to me. Have you read the interview with Will Smith?
I did. It was an interview. It's interesting. The interviewer really wanted to push actually on this particular question. But it was a very, very thorough interview. And yeah, he got some goods. He got Will Smith to kind of admit some things.
Yeah, it was a great interview. Shout out to the freaking journalists over there at GQ. They were not playing. They were not playing. It even seemed like Will was put on the spot, even though it was text. You can read off the page that is like he was on the spot a couple of times. So and that's great journalism. So what do you think about what Will Smith had to say about his marriage? Finally, now we know for sure.
It's so funny on this. So first I want to pull back a little bit. You know how and kind of set the stage a little bit for just our national, at this point, maybe it's not an obsession. Back in the day, it used to be an obsession in a way with their marriage, because, like you and I think we can remember the days when Will Smith was mega hot and Jada Smith was mega hot. And it was just absolute news that those two had decided to come together to create, to come together in marriage.
Mhm.
And our obsession with that is understandable, because Will Smith, I believe I can probably make a case that his talent level is incredible, and Jada not far behind. Extremely talented couple. When you watch them together, they are so witty, they're so present. You can see they make a perfect couple.
Mhm.
And so the obsession we can see, and so it's one of these things that I think we have to be careful sometimes, or maybe a lot of times, when we want to use the celebrity couple as the example,
Mhm.
and because they are celebrities and we want them to be right in everything that they do. So here you have a situation where we so wanted them to have this perfect marriage, the perfect marriage. They're gonna hold it down, they're gonna be Hollywood's first couple, that kind of thing. And then slowly but surely we get the goods, and we see over time that no, this is not necessarily the so-called perfect celebrity couple. And maybe we can talk about what that is.
Mhm.
So now we get to this point where it's like, after after the story back if you remember, there was a story where Will talked about it openly. I believe it was also on the Red Table, where he talked about when Jada basically cussed him out at a family reunion or something, where family was there, and he grabbed a newspaper and popped
Yes.
on the head. he popped on the head with a newspaper. That's what he says. And then he tells the story about how they had to go to another room and how they almost got a divorce from that. We
Yep.
go from that to what you just mentioned, the whole entanglement. The world got a very nice 6 months of memes from that one and entertainment from that one, to now here we are with Will admitting infidelity. Well, just that that he was doing his own thing, and apparently they come to that agreement.
Right.
So it's like, my thing on it is, we have to be careful about who we want to sort of put on that pedestal for an example of a perfect marriage, because to me this appears not to be it. We find out all these issues. So going to your more realistic than traditional. Maybe I won't get to that question just yet. I think that
Mhm.
it's out there. I think that the two of them together are showing us that it's some drama going on. A lot of people would say a whole mess going on here.
Messy. It's messy.
They are struggling. So that's my first take. I got some more things to say, but what I'll say is, this is just proof that they are struggling, and
Mhm.
they have been struggling for a long time. And we have yet to see where this road is going to take them.
Mhm. Also, I want to put out a disclaimer, because the knee-jerk reaction when anyone's discussing a Hollywood couple or celebrity couple, what have you, people always like, why are people in their business? Leave them alone. It's their business. It's their business. So I just want to put this out there. There are a lot of couples that are famous, that are attractive, superstardom, like Denzel Washington and Pauletta, right? So we have a lot of Tyler Perry and his, wife. There are a lot of famous, attractive couples, and we don't know jack about their relationship. Not a thing. We don't know if it's open. We don't know if it's closed. We don't know if there was infidelity. We have no idea. So I think it's unrealistic to ask people to stay out of Jada and Will's business when they're constantly putting their business out there. I also think people underestimate what celebrity means. A celebrity has to stay relevant. We hear that a lot. We hear, oh, you're just trying to be relevant. The job of the celebrity is to remain relevant. Some people use controversy, some people use who they date, some people use, some sort of fight at a restaurant, right, to create press. So that's another thing that's interesting to me, how people don't realize, yes, they are trying to stay relevant. That's part of their job, actually. That's why they show up a lot of
That's
places.
real talk, and that's something, because you're in these Hollywood streets over there. You're right there. So I believe that's some good perspective right there. They have to be relevant. They have to stay in our faces, so to speak.
Right. They absolutely have to. Now, with that said, I will say that I'm surprised that Will Smith is going the route of relationship controversy because he's such a big star. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need to reveal that how many women he smashed outside of his marriage. He doesn't need to reveal, and maybe he's going through something because now he claims he's in his fuck it 50s is what Will Smith is calling it, where it's kind of like you get to that age and you don't care anymore. And this is who I am. But with that said, I think that there should be some sort of, I don't know, reserve for your personal relationship, because after reading that interview, I see how it was so meaty and included other celebrities that it can get really messy for his home life, even more messy, if you can imagine that, even more messy and more controversial because he literally named other women. And we don't misquote here, but Will Smith said growing up as a kid, he always dreamed of having a harem of 20 women, right? And he claims the intimacy coach asked him, well, what women would they be? Let's work this out. And he mentioned Misty Copeland, who's a beautiful woman. He mentioned Halle Berry, who's a beautiful woman. But I think you have to be careful. And I think that was super messy because we don't know Halle Berry personally. We don't know Misty Copeland personally. And now you're dragging people into your mess that didn't ask for it, right? I wouldn't like to wake up in the morning and read that Will Smith mentioned me as part of his harem. First of all, I think it's disrespectful. You don't know if I'm married or in a relationship. It's just disrespectful to mention random women just because you like them, right? And you don't know what their situation is. It's disrespectful. Aside from that, if we're in the same business, I have to sit down at a table, whether it's at the Emmys, you know what I mean, or the Oscars, maybe not far from your wife, right? So now it's awkward because your husband just said he'd smash me. So that part of it, I don't like. I enjoy the fuck it 50s he's on. I enjoy that he's being so open and this is who I am. I don't like any type of mess where people are pulling in random people and you don't know their situation. That I do not like, and I'm surprised that Will Smith went that route. But we don't know these people personally, right? We don't know what his agenda is or what he's trying to do. I just think that's super, super messy. Leave people out of that stew that you and Jada have been cooking the past 20 years.
So you don't think he has you don't think he has the right to kind of tell his, because he didn't actually have the harem, he's just being 100% honest. You don't feel like, let this man have his space to go ahead and clear it. In the article, the way he put it was that after he worked it out, after he started really kind of trying to track out, okay, who these people might be in his harem, and the plan was that he was going to actually go out and contact them, then it dawned on him, whoa, this is actually the most horrible thing. This would be horrible. And so the way he put it was that, his therapist or whomever this person was, gave him the opportunity to kind of clean out some stuff in his psyche and his conscious, and doing that kind of helped him, with that. Realize that, whoa, come on now, that's not necessarily the best idea. So yeah, he mentioned it. And I feel you, but is that taking it a little bit too serious with it? I think he, let the man clean his conscience. He doesn't, to me, he doesn't seem like he's the wisest and nothing against Will Smith, but when he talks about the stuff he's been through, wisdom doesn't come to mind. Now we all got to live life, and everybody's not born, quote unquote wise or whatever, but that's how I see it. I'm gonna take his side and say, okay, let the man come clean. No.
Okay, I'll give him this much. I agree. When I think of wisdom, I don't think of Will Smith either, and he has been through a lot of trauma, like a lot of us have. His relationship with my father is similar to my relation. His relationship with his father is similar to my relationship with my father. Trauma of loving this superhero who also tormented you, right? So I get you grow up with a lot of, a lot of insecurities, a lot of questions. What are our relationships? What should they look like? His father, was physically abusive with his mom. I get that. But no, I have to disagree with you. I don't think that you pull people into your mess. Leave people the hell alone, right? Because you could be causing problems in their home, right? You just don't know what goes on in people's personal lives. What if Misty Copeland's husband was like, oh, wait, you worked with Will Smith. Was he trying to come on to you? And she's like, what? What are you talking about? You know, that's what I can't get with that. Do not bring people into your mess. Just because you're at your fucking 50s doesn't mean everybody else is, right? So I agree with you. I think it's great that he has an intimacy coach. I think it's great that people get therapy. I agree. It's great that he's clearing his conscience, but don't name actual people. That I can't get with. Don't name actual people. Keep them out your mess. And their marriage is super messy. This isn't a little messy. This is super messy. And what it does is it opens you up to a lot of dirty things. This other rapper just dropped an interview and it was saying Jada Pinkett was smashing the kid from Crisscross when he was only 15 years old. And I'm sorry, but the way he told that story sounded like he was there. Right? So I think it's dangerous because, and then I want to get to open marriages in general, but I think it's dangerous when you open yourself up like that because Jada will have children. They have children who have to deal with these memes and these social media, and people are relentless and ruthless. We all know that. We all know what happens here. You know what I mean? And August Alsina, that was Jaden's friend, right? So we got that. So now we got this dude who knows Crisscross, and now he's talking about your mother was smashing Crisscross. You know what I mean? So I think that Jaden will have more. They act really deep, but I think they have some more growing up to do. They act really deep at that red table.
Yeah.
But they have some more growing up to because right now they're acting like Love and Hip Hop cast members. And I don't like it.
I actually am with you on that. And I agree. They on that point, they are definitely they're showing us that they have some growing up to do. I mean, here we are now with Will Smith coming out with this book, and it's coming out that he wants to, you know, now that the fact that we know that old boy is in an open relationship, man, what's gonna come out sooner or later with, you know, when we get some receipts, somebody gonna get to talking. And so,
piggybacking off of that, he said, well, if you always tell the truth, no one has anything on you. And I interpreted that as, you know, none of the side chicks, none of the side guys are ever going to have any leverage on them or can threaten them with anything because they're like, yeah, they're coming out and saying, hey, and I think it's also, he's getting ahead of it, right? Because maybe he has been threatened. Maybe he has had the side chick that needs the Louis Vuitton bag and has the screenshots. We don't know because he's definitely divulging a lot of information that I'm surprised. And I'm like, you're risking, you know what I mean, your family being a target yet again. And going back to Denzel and Pauletta, the way they carry themselves, nobody messes with them, right? Because we don't know whether or not he was unfaithful. We don't know. Has a lot of respect for his wife publicly, vice versa, Pauletta to Denzel, and those people you know not to mess with. But Jada and Will are really putting themselves out there in a way that I don't think they realize how damaging it can be. Like, you have a family now, you have children. If you guys are in your 50s, it's time to like enjoy the money, the vacations. We don't need you out here. I don't want to know who you smashed, right?
You know what?
It's not sexy to me. Just I don't want to know.
I wonder if there's a line in Vegas on how long their marriage is gonna last from this point. Like if there was a line right now over under 5 years, I would take the under and I would put some money. We might be seeing the tail end of something right here.
Yeah.
You know, what do you think on that? You think it's on the...
I don't know, because they've established that they're just partners now, life partners, it may last because they both seem really comfortable with OPP, other people's property, right? And being other people's property. So it may last. The only reason I hesitate saying 100% it may last is because when you watch Red Table Talk, anybody that knows even an inkling about body language, you can tell Jada's not happy. Yes, she tries to sound very profound and deep, but She cries very easily. You know what I mean? That's usually a sign. How happy are you? You are wealthy. Your children are healthy. Your mom sits beside you. Your husband is one of the biggest stars, in Hollywood. Yet any little thing makes you cry. She always makes references to her kids are the best thing that ever happened, and she breaks out in tears. So I don't think Jada's as happy or as stable as she's presenting, right? I think Red Table Talk is actually her therapy, right? But I don't think that it's working, and it's going to get worse. You know what I mean? It's going to wear on you. And Will made reference to, hey, Jada was never into traditional marriages anyway, going back to the open relationship thing. But I don't think that means that she was ready to sign up for a marriage where a man was unfaithful. And getting into the open marriage, I want to question that, right? Because it's an open marriage, but Will also said, I've been unfaithful and Jada has also been unfaithful. That's curious language for an open marriage, is it not?
Yeah,
That's
it is.
Language. And I think that, they're trying to paint this picture now because they've been so grossly unfaithful. They're trying to paint a picture now. It's always been open. This is what we do. And here's one thing that bothered me.
Okay.
This is the second thing that bothered me, other than them pulling people into their mess. This is the second thing that bothered me, right? Will Smith said that, and here's the quote, marriage couldn't be a prison for us, right? For him and Jada. And he was like, I don't recommend it for anyone else, but it couldn't be a prison for us. But then they always have to end it. And Jada does this a lot too. They always have to end it with, but the way we opened it up and let each other do whatever we want is the highest definition of love. I had such an issue with that because that is not the highest definition of love. Love is sacrifice. It's easy to get married and smash other people. It's so easy. It's like breathing. It's like it doesn't take any effort. I don't care about hurting you. You can go mess around. There's no sacrifice there, right? Love is sacrifice, right? So what are you sacrificing? Nothing. You took vows and you're not sacrificing anything. You're not sacrificing your penis. You're not sacrificing your, you just, hey, to me, sacrifices, yeah, there are a lot of beautiful women out there, but I'm not going to break my wife down, vice versa. There are a lot of beautiful men out there, but I'm not going to break my husband down. It's just not worth messing up this life. And I think that both Jada and Will, I'm like, don't piss down my leg and tell me it's raining. It's not raining. You guys are just at a point where it's like, look, you cheated, I cheated. We like sleeping with other people. Let's just call this a marriage or a partnership or whatever. But to the highest definition of love. No, it's the way you guys love each other.
Right.
And because people are so impressionable and we live in such a celebrity worshiping society that I think it's a bad influence to let people think the highest definition of love is getting married. And if the other person wants to mess around, let them. I think that's absolutely horrible. And you know me, I'm not religious, so I'm not even thinking, hey, God said, right? But it's still, if you take a vow, you take a vow. And I'm tired of people getting in traditional marriages and then cookie cutting them for themselves and be like, no, there's a marriage. No, marriage means one thing. Marriage means forever. Fidelity, me and you, loyalty. That's marriage.
Yeah.
That's marriage. And if you don't want that, then don't get married. But don't get married and then tell people it's the highest definition of love that she lets me mess around and I let her mess around. I think it's BS. That was BS.
No, I'm with I can't help but agree with you on the point about marriage. I'm going to try to quibble a little bit and try to maybe look at things from Will's perspective. This dude, so apparently, because, when you look at the history, he was coming, and it made mention of it in the article. He was coming after your boy Tupac and had this real, serious jealousy because he was feeling Jada hard, crushing hard. And Jada, from what we have, read and heard, Jada was all about was for Tupac. That was Tupac's. And so, now you got Will, the quote unquote more square, more goody two shoes. Everybody heard Will Smith's first album. And that is nowhere near. He can't, when you talk about what Tupac and the rep that he had, Jada was all about that. Even though she tried to pretend like she wasn't on It's a Different World.
Right.
No. Jada was all about that Pac. So it's one of these things where, they, from his perspective, tried to, settle with the one who he was feeling, tried to be hard. They get together, try to create what he thinks is a perfect marriage. It's nowhere near it. Over time, everybody's doing their own thing. He does not want another divorce for a whole lot of other reasons, because he left the first one for Jada. So it's like, from him, he is, so again, this is where the wisdom is. Just he's got to learn some things, because from his perspective, it's, you know what, after all we've been through and we've tried to do things, we still together, and this is gonna be our highest form of love. I'm gonna let you be you. I'm gonna let you get into your entanglements and all of that. You're gonna let me be me. I'm out here just doing, and that's the funny thing, because we really don't know what, he made mention of the fictional, but we really don't know what Will has been all up in. So, but you're gonna let me be me.
I'm sure that list is amazing, by the way. That hit list, you think Nick Cannon got a hit list? Hit list would be amazing.
People want to know. People want those receipts. I bet you. So yeah, from him, he is probably like, this is how we, if we're gonna stay together, if we're not gonna split this up, then for him, this is the highest form of love, because I'm just gonna let you be you. You're gonna let me be me. We're gonna somehow tolerate it. And this is where I agree with you, because it's coming off like a rationalization, just like the other stuff, like what we've seen in the past all along, with these rationalizations and overcompensations of trying to say we are going to be the couple. And it never worked. This is why I'm betting on the under. This is another one. This ain't gonna have, they trying. He hanging on. So, I can't help but agree with you, but I'm gonna try to at least take Will's side in terms of point of view and perspective, and say, you know what, your boy just trying to hold on.
Okay. Hold on over there.
But let me throw this in real quick. So the situation here is this: we do see now it's an open marriage, and they are who they are. And this leads us right into your question that's on the screen now. Our open marriage is more realistic than traditional, because guess what? Is this a sign of the times? Is this a sign of the times? Because I think you and I, at least we do agree on the traditional role and purpose of marriage. I think we agree there. But guess what? The society does not appear to be there now. And we got Will Smith on GQ talking about it's the highest form of love, and they giving each other. So that is the question. Are they more realistic than traditional? What say you?
I guess it depends on the individual, but what I do see happening a lot is people signing up for open marriage and open relationships, and they're not really built for it, right? I've watched a lot of documentaries. I've watched a lot of specials on sex and love and marriage, because I'm always wondering what makes people tick. And usually people that are sexually fluid, what the kids call it, right, don't have all these conversations like Jada and Will have. It seems like Jada will struggle to define their relationship. What is this? Am I going to cheat? Are you going to cheat? Are you cheating with younger guys? People who are sexually fluid, they come into it, they find people that are like that, and this is what it is. I see them all the time. They're happy, and they're doing the orgies and the menage a trois, and all this stuff is going, and it's so natural to them, and they're inviting the people over. I've been approached by couples before. The women have approached me. I was on a cruise one time, and I was like, she's a little friendly. This is really like more than casual conversation, especially in Vegas. There's a lot of things that go on in Vegas, and I think some people are, and more power to them. But I think I'm going to race here, and this may be controversial, but you know me, I breathe and I cause offense. I don't think that people of color are naturally built that way. I think some of us get into environments where there's a lot of money, where a lot of these things can easily happen and you have easy access to. That's what I think. And I think people get weird as they get richer and more popular, and more things are being introduced by a demographic and a race where you wouldn't normally be around those things, having those things introduced to you. I'm sorry, that is how I personally feel. Another open marriage couple is Monique and I don't know his name. She calls him Daddy. I don't know if
Right.
his name.
That's right. Monique and Daddy, we'll call them that.
Monique and Daddy. They're also in open marriage. So to answer your question the long way, open marriages work if that is truly who you are. I don't think it works if that is who you had to become for the man you married. That's what I think. And that's why I think Jada looks so torn every time I see her, doing her red table talk and crying every 5 minutes. She looks like, even if she doesn't believe in traditional marriage, she looks like something is really, really bothering her. And she's always talking about what she missed out on and X, Y, and Z. And just a quick history on their relationship. They had a red table talk where the way they met was also very unorthodox. Will Smith wanted to date Jada Pinkett and then saw Cherie and said, later for this Jada chick I was supposed to meet, right? After setting up a meeting with her, he was like, wait, who's this over there? Spotted Cherie, curbed Jada, married Cherie. And then Cherie wanted a divorce. And they had a red table talk. I watch me some red table talk now.
I see.
So Cherie was talking to Jada, and Cherie said that she looked at Will and said, because Will was like, I'm not getting divorced. I'm not getting divorced. I don't believe in divorce. And Cherie looked at him and said, why would you want someone that doesn't love you anymore? And they said that's when it both clicked. And Will was like, wow, that's deep. Why would I want someone that doesn't love me anymore? So Cherie stopped loving him. And then guess what he did? Then he went, where was that Jada chick at? Right. So when you start a relationship that way, with one person having so much power, you have to understand that that is the foundation that your relationship is on. And then Will called Jada and was like, hey, who are you dating? She was like, nobody. And he was like, pack your stuff. You're dating me now. And Jada said, but I just bought a farm. Blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Pack your stuff. You're dating me now. So when someone has that much power in a relationship, you jump how high, how low. So I think that relationship was always doomed to be something that was unbalanced and weird. And then you add money and stardom to that, and that's volcano meets tornado.
Yeah, and that's why we're talking about them right now. The stardom, the fame. Because if without that, the talent, then they're just, two people who just made some messed up decisions, and maybe they're not even together because it's pretty clear that all this time they've been trying to, put the square peg in the circle. And so they are showing how open the perils, I guess you could say, of an open marriage. The thing is, are they more realistic? When you mentioned you mentioned earlier that it might be cultural, or it might have, skin color might have something to do with the approach to it. But like you're on the West Coast, I'm over here on the East Coast in Florida. And shout out to Jacksonville behind me. I'm right here. Right. And I'm not too far from Atlanta, and I hear that Atlanta has all of these same elements that you're talking about that kind of go down in Vegas. And Atlanta is kind of known. I don't know what the probably have to look up the ratios, but Atlanta's known as Blacktown USA, and they wilding in Atlanta too. So are they more realistic? They should not be more realistic. And I have spiritual convictions about that, of course. They shouldn't be more realistic, but man, are people getting together and doing it? More and more and more people seem to be, and what do we do? How do we fake that out? If, we feel like, hey, they don't need to be up in here like this. What do we do? We wait for me, I guess I wait for that bet to come through in less than 5 years. And then I, go spread the word. Don't be like Will and Jada.
Right. I think my advice would be to be, open marriages do work. They absolutely do work if you are 100% committed to an open marriage on both ends. And my advice would be, please, please, please communicate and have the conversations, because a lot of people claim to be great communicators.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I say it like it is. I'll tell them what's on my mind. And, I'm big on, a lot of people claim they marry their best friend, but their actual best friend knows more about their husband than he does. Right? And vice versa. You have a problem with your wife, your boy's talking to his boy, right? Man, she blah, 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 when you should be talking to each other. So a lot of people claim good communication and they don't really have it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is imperative that you sit with someone and ask the important questions.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'll never forget, there was this man, my boss, when I used to manage a club and, in Times Square. And he was like, hey, Jen, he drove me home one day. He was like, hey, Jen, you're beautiful. You're this, that, and the third, blah, blah. I would love to date you, but you should know I've never been faithful to any woman. And I was like, right? So I know it can be done because of that conversation. People can be honest, right? And I told them, thank you. I'm flattered. That's not a situation that I want to be in because I know me. Right. And he had all the bells and whistles, right? Like I'm sure Jada felt when Will called her on the phone, but I'm like, it's not something that's going to be healthy for me. So I'm going to pass, but I appreciate your honesty, because he could have lied. He could have tried to date me and just got his whole world in a mess, because he cheated on me. It just, it would have never worth it. Right?
Jen, you would have been on, what's that show on HBO with the orange? The oranges, what is it? Orange suit?
Orange and black.
Yeah, there you go. Starring Jen.
Yes, but it's important. I think they do work. I just think that people are getting into them and they don't really know what they're getting into.
So you know what? Oh, go ahead.
Someone mentioned also there are risks to these open marriages. You're bringing other people into a situation. There's also STDs. It's not just AIDS. There's all kinds of stuff you can catch that you can't get rid of, that'll have your cabinet full of creams no one's ever heard of.
Right.
So there's a lot of risk involved too. I think they're very realistic and a better choice for Hollywood people. That's what I think. I think they're a much better choice for people that are in Hollywood, because the temptation is really, really strong. The flesh is weak, so I hear. It's Pastor Frank.
Flesh is weak. Can't lie about that one.
The flesh is weak, and Hollywood, everyone is beautiful and shiny or attractive, even if they're not. Right? The mirage is, you're in a movie, you must be amazing, right? They're just regular people, but you don't know that until you meet them. So, it's very, very risky. It's not for me. I admire people that can do it and do it well. I just don't think that Jada and Will are doing it well. I just think they're two people who wanted to mess around, right? Because they got bored with each other or whatever. And I just don't know how a woman, there's another thing that really, my heart breaks for Jada. The way he describes these other women, I don't know how I can sleep with that. So I see why she's always crying, right? Something has to be bothering. He talks about these other women like they're, come on. And Jada's cute, but she's no Halle Berry. You know what I'm saying? She's cute, but she's no Misty Copeland. So it's like you have to, and you're all at the same parties. Like the next Emmys, the next Oscars, you have to watch Halle Berry walk in her Versace gown. And your husband just told the world he would have loved to smash, but it doesn't make him a bad person. Like, it's just, I just think it's so messy. Like, it's so messy. And I'm surprised that they're taking this route.
It's so while I'm gonna bring something up, maybe, and maybe some of your viewers might have an objection with something that we're saying. If so, definitely we drop the link and see if they want to come up. But I'll say this.
Let me drop the link. If you guys want to object on the panel, please.
Come on up. Yeah, we want to hear your objections. I'm gonna say this. So I want to go back to something that you mentioned because it seems kind of interesting use of words. You remember, and you brought up that he said that he didn't want this to be a prison, you know, and that sounds like that may have been in a conversation between the two of them, you know, bringing that up because that's so stark. It sounds like that's one of those things where they were going back and forth and somebody said that that's what it felt like to them. You know, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. So I'm wondering, yes, they are kind of, I guess, making it work, but right now, does their marriage feel like a prison for one or both of them? I don't think we should, leave this conversation without talking about what he said, because that marriage as a prison idea is that's stark.
It doesn't sound like two people who favor open marriage, and that's my issue with this new epiphany of revelation. Like, yeah, we're open. You're not open. It seems like there's a lot of just tolerating going on. It seems that and then it seems like he put the onus on Jada, like, oh, she was never into anything traditional either. It's not just me. But it sounds like two people struggling to remain in a marriage while they sleep with other people. It doesn't sound complicated at all. It sounds like you guys still want each other for some reason, but you couldn't leave, or you didn't have it in you to leave. But when I look at both of them, Will looks a lot happier and a lot more animated than Jada does. Jada looks torn. She looks troubled.
It's funny because I haven't seen her. So what are you basing that on? Have you been watching her in the latest Red Table Talks, or like how?
Yeah, I'm a fan of Red Table Talk, but now it's getting a little weird and a little hokey for me. So I haven't been watching it as of late. So I have been watching like little clips of things that are happening and things that she's discussing. And there's a lot of it almost doesn't even seem like it's her show. It seems like she's the guest on Dr. Phil or Oprah. She's like, you know what I mean? And her mom is always trying to console her, or her daughter. It almost seems like between her and her daughter is the more mature one. And you have to remember, these are two children that are looking at two parents who have slept around, who've argued about it, you know what I mean, in their presence. So sometimes children do take that mature role. Like, it's okay, mom, it's going to be okay. And Willow does that a lot on Red Table Talk. And I'm like, when Red Table Talk first happened, Jada seems so put together, but the more information that came out about their marriage, she just seems like she's getting smaller. You know what I mean? And I was like, I said it jokingly, but I was like, they better watch Jada because she cries a lot, right? And that's usually a sign of something is troubling you. Of course, if you talk about something sentimental, you're gonna cry. But the things that I see her crying about are just like, why are you? What's going on? Are you okay? So I don't know. I'm afraid for their marriage. I don't know if that sounds weird, but I'm afraid for their marriage because I don't think it's as put together as they try to make it look. And after the August Alsina talk, they literally said at the end, like, it was cute. What was the Bad Boys quote from the movie?
Which one?
Ride or die, Bad Boys for life.
Yeah.
Okay, so they ended it saying bad marriage for life.
Yeah. Like, and they laughed about it.
Yeah, and I was like, no, this is not cute. Like, what is this? With that said, a lot of people would think, hey, they're still together. They didn't get divorced, so yay. I'm like, I'm not staying anywhere. I'm not happy. I'm not doing it.
So what would you sound like? You gonna put the over under at even less than 5? Like I'm put it at 5. You might put that bad boy at 2 or 3. I don't know. They're like, so for me, so here's the thing on it. I am definitely wondering whether or not the two of them are going to end up, like, what is the lesson? Because for me, here it is. We are sitting here talking about them. They're a famous, a celebrity couple. They're going through the drama, and we see that this is some new information. We're finding out that Will all along has been stepping out of the marriage.
Right.
So for me, if I'm going to talk about it, what is the lesson? Are they going to end up together? Are they not? What do I pull so that I can, just either talk to people and tell them these are cautious lessons and cautious things to avoid, or am I going to be rooting somebody on here, one or the other? Like, what are the lessons? I want to pull them out. Do you feel like there are even any lessons to pull from this situation?
I think, well, this may be controversial too, because according to Black YouTube, if you ain't married, something wrong with you. You know what I mean? That's the parroting thing. You ain't married, you're gonna die with cats. I am not a fan of marriage. I'm not.
That's controversial.
I am not a fan of marriage. I think that a lot of people get married and they should never have gotten married or even thought about it. Again, I think that tradition will get you hemmed up, right? People think boy meets girl, girl likes boy, they get married and sail off into the sunset, and that's seldom the case. And I'm not just talking out the side of my neck here. Look at the stats. Look at the divorce rate. If that doesn't tell you, a lot of people are going into marriages and should never be. Some people are just not. It's not. You can't think of a formula and think it's going to work for everybody on the planet. It's especially in this country, where our biggest superstars are girls that twerk on stage half naked. That is America's biggest superstars. So you have to remember the country you're in. This is in India, where arranged marriages last forever. You are in America. So I'm not.
Yeah, I saw a stat just to throw it in there real quick. I just saw a stat that the USA is third in the world in terms of the divorce rate. Only 2 other countries beat us in terms of the divorce rate. But the interesting thing is that the latest stats appear that things are like people are both deciding to get married in lower numbers, and interestingly enough, the divorce rate does seem to be coming down some. So we don't know quite what's going on with that.
Less people are getting married.
Well, maybe, yeah. But we're talking about the divorce rate, so maybe, yeah. I guess that affects it. But I do find it interesting. So, are you saying that you are anti-marriage for Jen, or you are anti-marriage in general? I like that. For Jen,
I am in general. I'm not anti-marriage for me because I'm built for marriage. I'm very, very much built for marriage. I am very communicative. I say it like it is. I expect to be told like it is. Okay. I don't harbor. I don't fester. I don't build resentment in my head. And some people may be intimidated by that, but it's either that or you have a woman that walks around quiet, secretly hating you and scheming on your entire life plan, right? So I'm very much built for marriage. I'm not anti-marriage for Jen. I'm divorced. I was in the worst marriage of my life, but even that didn't, I'm not jaded, right? But again, some people just shouldn't be married, and the person I married should never have gotten married. Right. So I'm for marriage for me because I'm built for it. Right.
So then what's the distinction? Yeah. So you definitely have it. So what's the distinction for hey, marriage isn't a good thing in general? Because that's kind of that's what the side that you're following on. So what you did articulate, hey, the wrong people are getting married. But is it purely because of that? Just that people don't know how to pick their mate?
I think people don't know. I think people don't know themselves.
We got, check this out. I see here Mark Randall in the chat. Yo, I'm an expert here. We might need to get Mark.
Are you Mark?
Okay.
Mark is going to come on the panel. He's scared.
Definitely get up here. We need some experts or self-proclaimed experts.
Mark, come on the panel. Mark is the thorn in my side that I never block or get rid of, if that makes sense. Well, there goes the link, Mark, if you want to join us on the panel. So, going back to your question, I think people are getting it. Marriage is almost like, how do I describe it? It's kind of like a tattoo, right? It's like not
Mhm.
everyone should get one just because you see a lot of people getting one, right? It doesn't
Mhm.
mean that you should get one. All right, they look
Mhm.
cool on a lot of people. Some people have sleeves. Just it doesn't mean that you should get one. And I think humans automatically they're like that. What's that animal that just falls off the cliff and the other ones are just following and they're falling off the cliff and no one's
Oh
asking
yeah.
what's going on up there. You know, humans are a lot like cattle and they're doing things that supposedly allegedly humans are supposed to do, and they're just not built for it. They're not meant to be married. And I honestly I wish less people would get married, because when you look at it, a lot of marriages end so badly. Families are torn apart, children are, torn to and fro.
Mhm.
It's like ends in murder. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? The number one form of homicide is men to women that
Mhm.
they know and they said
Right.
they loved one day. So it's really just people don't know themselves, right? But in the YouTube streets, people are constantly talking about the other person, right? Well, don't
Mhm.
pick somebody who ain't have there yet. Don't pick somebody who ain't got a nice body. Don't pick
Mhm.
somebody who ain't got it. No, it's about you. Do you want to be married? Are you marriage material?
Mhm.
Right?
See, and
So
I'm about to fall back because for me, and I'm just jumping in to mess with you because I think that God has everything. God, we've taken God out of. Yep. We have taken God out of marriage, and that's why marriage is in trouble. Because when we take God out of it, we take away the the
rules.
the rules, and and because I won't go too deep with it, unless you want me to. But yeah, so here we are as a society, playing around with something that, you know by its very nature is supposed to be a covenant, and a covenant under God. And here we go. We want to play with it. And now it's like it's like you said, we need to find a high value man. We need to find, this particular woman. And when we see as soon and we don't know how to court each other, we took courting out. People used to actually court, at least to my understanding, 50 years ago. We took all that out. Now we like, one or two things that we've been around a while, then hey, that might be the one that I can spend the rest of my life with. We find out that it's not, and boom, now we out of it. Peace. No more covenant, no more anything. So to me, God is central here.
Mhm.
Um, I want you to object.
I'm gonna object. I'm gonna object because I don't think that you should have the threat or the consequence that you're going against an entity to be faithful and loyal about the vows that you consciously took. You
Right.
took those vows, right? So I don't like anything done because the threat of something, because then it's never genuine. And I honestly think that God in the marriage is not a plus, it's a negative.
Mm-mm.
And
Mm-mm.
here's
Keep
why.
going.
You
Yeah, I
want
want
me
to hear it.
to object? You
Yeah.
want me to object? And
Yes.
here's why. Because you're constantly denying who you are and what you want because you're just like, well, God said. And you're
Mhm.
denying all of this. You're denying I like sleeping with other people. I'm not really attracted to her body type. I hate how she cooks, right? But
Mhm.
but God said I got to stay with her. So what do? You start cheating, you start treating her badly because God said. If you take God out of the equation and be real
Mhm.
with yourself, then you can be
Mhm.
like, you know what? This isn't going to work for me. I thought it was. I'm sorry, my bad. I'm gone. Versus
Mhm.
creating all this chaos because you have the pressure of some God telling you to stay in something. So I
So
think
we
it's
need to guess what thing. Guess we got to do a little bit. We're gonna do a little bit of back and forth. So we got to look into why God set up marriage. What's the why? The reason why people get married is to procreate, to have a family, to raise a family together, to have the stability of a man and woman to actually create a family unit, which then becomes the basis of the entire society. We pull God out, who set all of this up in a divine order. We pull God out, and then now that that God is out of the equation, we decide now We're not beholden to a higher reason and a higher purpose that was orchestrated by a divine entity. Now instead, we fall to our own whims. I'm going to be with you now because, and I'm deciding to spend the rest of my life with you now because I see 5, 10, 15 years of going on trips with you all over the world. We're going to travel, and so, or the flip side, I'm with you because I see in 15 years of just the most passionate, your body is banging and I'm going to go, this is who I'm coming home to right here, the passionate love and the passionate sex. And so as soon as those little surface material things fall away, we fall away. And so God in the equation helps center us on the full reason why marriage is even here in the first place. Without marriage, without families, we don't have stable units to build societies. Instead, we running. We sleeping with this one, we sleeping with that one. We having kids out of nobody's raising the kids. It's exactly what we have in this country right now. No?
Yes, we do have that, but I still think it's dangerous to do anything because you think God ordained it or planned it. I think it's very, very dangerous because you're constantly looking outside of yourself to keep something together. I don't like that idea.
We got some objections. Somebody object with me.
Oh,
somebody
people are
object with Jen.
People are objecting here.
Let
me address something that Mark Randall is saying because I hate when men say this. He said lemming. It's called the animal, right? And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but I think he's referring to, look, humans are animals. They got to sleep around, get over it.
No, I think he was talking about when you were, we'll see. I think he was talking about when you was talking about the jumping over the mountain. One lemming goes and so the rest follow. I think
the lemming.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I think that's what you're talking about.
Okay, sorry. So I'm gonna bring this up anyway because it's very interesting. Like a lot of people think that open marriages are supposed to be open because we're all animals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's BS because I feel like then men would never cry when a woman cheats. Being heartbroken for a man would be absolutely impossible if we're all just animals.
Okay, right. Okay, go ahead. Yep.
Okay, so that's how I feel about that. If we were all just animals, see, when we watch animals on Discovery Channel and the female goes and gets smashed somewhere else, the male animal isn't trying to stab people and shoot people and crying and say, please come back to me. They're just like, hey, we're all animals. Anybody can get it, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't believe that, it's not normal. Marriage isn't normal for just two people to hang out for the rest of their lives, or men would not cry or get heartbroken.
Yeah, we're definitely not just animals. We definitely don't approach that from an animalistic, nature.
But I do believe there are humans that are sexually fluid, and that is how they are naturally, and they find people that are also that way. Those type of people are the ones I'm saying should never get married. Like, marriage is not necessary all the time. Like, stop, if you're listening, stop getting married.
And see, here's the key to that from my perspective. It's, there's always going to be the people who are sort of outside of the norm. Not marriage isn't for everybody. There was a time when marriage was unquestionably the flat out norm, in our society for the vast majority, the overwhelming majority of the history of this country. You get married and you do things the right way. If you want to put God in the equation, you do. If you don't, marriage was the norm. But now here we go, coming into a society where for some reason it appears that marriage, and seems like we're witnessing it in front of our eyes, marriage is now not becoming the norm. Instead, all this other, what I'm going to call foolishness, is slowly becoming the norm. And so when foolishness becomes the norm, then you slowly, and it's happening slowly, this is over years, you slowly plant the seeds that will then, over time, destroy the society that you're in. We can't be in a situation where marriage is the exception instead of the norm. It's just like, the old analogy of the toad, that you put a toad in the water, and if you want to kill it and it don't know, then you just turn up the heat really, really, really slowly. The toad, that being cold-blooded, does not know that the water is slowly, slowly warming up on them, and it gets hot before the toad knows that it's actually too hot and too late to get out. I don't know if you've heard that analogy before, but
No, that's interesting. No.
that's what it's looking like we're in. Things are getting hot, and it's gonna be too late in a minute.
Hey, Keith. I agree with you. I agree that a faithful, happy married society is a great society, right? It works in other countries like a charm. I don't think America is built for that. I don't think it caters to that. We glorify and make huge celebrities out of people that, you know, celebrate whoring and infidelity, and those that, when you look at look at a country's music business and show business and who the biggest stars are, and I feel like it'll tell you a lot about that country, right? Every country controls its own media. Let's not pretend, let's not pretend that Cardi B, for instance, got to be as popular as she is because she's talented. The media controls all of this. I watch award shows now and they look like Magic City documentaries. Everybody on stage is in their panties and everybody on stage is doing some form of twerking. So I just don't think that you have to be super, super strong to remain faithful in a marriage in this country, and with social media, everybody's naked on social media. So it's a constant barrage, and it's not just the women. I follow a couple pages right now where dudes are always shirtless. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like it's everywhere, and we're constantly bombarded with these images. So for some people, yes, an open marriage is ideal. I think it's absolutely ideal. Now, is it going to break down society?
I think so.
You think so?
I do. I don't think that the society can roll. I mean, heaven forbid, Lizzo in an open marriage. Oh my God, the end of the world. I'll play it. I'll play it.
Big girls need love too.
That's another objection topic. Yeah, so absolutely. Our open marriage is more realistic. I feel like we're headed into a situation where people think that they're gonna be more realistic, and I fear for that.
Yeah, I'm actually welcoming it. I think there'd be less death, less divorce, less children out of wedlock, because I think when you're going into something and you're like, look, I just want to mess around. I don't want to have any children. I don't want to have any commitment. I think you move differently. Obviously, Jada hasn't been pregnant outside of Will Smith, and Will Smith that we know of doesn't have any children out of wedlock, and they decided on an open marriage. So obviously they're consciously being very careful about birth control, right? If you're going to do it that way, great. Mark Randall said a good marriage is amazing. A bad marriage is living in pure bondage, which takes us back to Jada and Will. Will Smith said a marriage couldn't be a prison.
Right.
Although I thought it's such an ugly thing to say about marriage. I mean, never marry anybody you think you're going to be in a prison with, for Pete's sake. That it sounded absolutely horrible. But their logic is a little skewed. I would think I wouldn't really go to them for marriage advice.
Okay.
But some people worship celebrity, and like you said, it's dangerous for society, because now a lot of people are going to be like, well, Will Smith said, and he's the most, amazing blockbuster superstar. So he must, you know what I mean? He must know what he's talking about.
They doing it right. It's like they done figured out. Will Smith done straight said it's the highest form of love. So Will Smith got it figured out now. This is what we need to do. Yeah, made it socially acceptable. We about to see a higher form of love from everybody.
Alan R says, but Jen, marriage been going on for years since the 60s. The destruction of marriage is breaking our society.
I agree with Alan.
Is it the destruction of marriage or people?
See,
People
it
getting into
contributes. So,
origin.
so let's think about it. So what happens is, especially if this happens started happening a long time ago, you have, let's just throw a number out there. Say marriages really started breaking down in the 70s. So the 70s marriages are breaking up. So now they are raising kids and they're single moms. You don't have the father in the home, so now the kids aren't coming up in a proper way. So then you get the 80s babies that was the era of the crack baby. so maybe you got a whole lot of foolishness, not a lot of guidance going on there, and then it becomes you're circling the drain. It gets worse and worse and worse. And so we can't, to me, and that's just, throwing something out real quick, but it seems like if you think about it, you can kind of say that if the marriage breaks down, then what structure can there be for the proper raising of the next generation? So they're gonna make these mistakes. They don't know. They haven't learned it. And we learn from people we know. We learn from each other. If everybody around you is jacked up, then okay, so what do you have? How
All right,
can you?
I'm going to agree with you on something. I have an example. I'll agree with you.
Okay.
It was recently revealed by Willow Smith, Jada and Will's daughter, that she's now sexually fluid and doesn't believe in traditional marriage. So I'm going. Oh, I'll give it for you. You're absolutely right. It does break down the next generation coming, because we can say, oh, she did that on her own. But when you're living with Jada and Will, chances are,
The
you
apple
know,
didn't fall far from the tree.
yeah. So now, Jaden hasn't said anything yet, but Jaden wears skirts a lot. So we don't know what side he falls on. That's not a bad thing. Don't come after me. I love LGBTQ. I'm just
Hey,
saying that
that's some
they're,
commentary. You can make your commentary. Go ahead.
they're eccentric children who came from eccentric parents. That doesn't make them bad people at all, but you have to, there's influence there, right? There's influence there, and we can't deny that. I'm about resolve. There's nothing we can do to repair, I think, this society. I think it's way out of control. You'd have to do like China and ban Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And you'd have to do so much that this country is not going to do. We're still fighting about abortion and guns.
Right.
No one cares about, the other things that are influencing our kids to do horrible things. So, I'm about resolve. What can we do? And I think what we can do is do not get married if you're not built for it, and stop having children with people you don't want to marry.
That's true.
Right? There has to be some accountability. There has to be some responsibility. Like, I think individuals are ruining this thing. But again, they're like cattle, like the lemmings, like Mark said. They're just, one after the other. It's disheartening, but I don't see it getting any better, especially with the explosion of social media. Again, I don't think people realize how powerful a machine it is, and how influential it is, and how horrible things have been for the last decade, increasingly.
Right.
Explosion of social media. It's getting pretty scary out here. If you're in a good relationship, and if it's halfway good, and it needs to work, I suggest that you stay in it, because it's getting really, really scary out here. It's getting really scary.
Yes. And my actionable item is one that you're going to reject outright. And you know what I'm going to say? We need to get back to God. We need to, and it's not going to happen. So it's almost like, why say it? But for me, the solution is we need a reconciliation. We need to figure out if what ways are there for us to be able to reconcile and really take the time to learn. So many people don't either believe in God or love God or whatever the situation is because they haven't necessarily read the Bible. And I'm going to make it real personal because last time we talked about this conversation on my channel, I tried to objectify it. I tried to say, hey, let's look at it from existential standpoint. I'm going to talk more from a personal standpoint.
Again, I see new people came in. Watch Does God Exist on Talk Frank Goodin. That was the Objections episode before the one you're watching right now. And you got to hear how I don't believe about God.
Yeah,
right?
and it got deep. Yeah, Jen and I had some objections, and they were very respectful objections, but still objections that we had with each other. And so my thing is, hey, that's where the answer is. People need to read the Bible for themselves. You don't necessarily have to go to a church per se when you can just go straight to the book, straight to the source, and actually read it. And when you do, I pray that the truth is revealed to you, and absent that truth, there's no way because who's raising the kids now? Instagram is raising the kids.
Well, I'm gonna throw in my own little objection.
Okay.
And I'm gonna keep blaming social media. I'm gonna keep blaming it because on the God subject, I think the reason why people are turning their backs on a God that's going to help keep a marriage together or make good things happen, right? I think that people are really getting tired of not getting the results they want with a God present, right? And it's because they lack self-determinism because they're like, God, you were supposed to X, Y, and Z. I pray to you, but you were supposed to X, Y, and Z. It's not happening. It's not happening. So a lot of people are now turning their backs on God because they're like, I pray, I go to church, I read the Bible, and this stuff is still messed up. You know why? Because they are not holding themselves accountable. They are not realizing that they're the ones that make the good and bad decisions in their life. They keep thinking that God is supposed to be looking out. So then they blame God and they turn their back on God, right? I'm an atheist, but a lot of people are atheists because they gave up on a God, right? I didn't give up on a God. I'm not mad at God. A lot of atheists are mad at God because somebody died. God didn't save, X, Y, and Z. But I think a lot of people turn their backs on God because they have this God in their life since they were very, very little, and their lives still get messed up over and over and over again. And their lives are getting messed up over and over and over and over again because they are not living their lives the way they should. They're not making the decisions that they should. They're not taking initiative in their lives because God is going to bring me a husband. God is going to get me a better job. God is going to keep this marriage together. So when he doesn't do that, people are like, so what I need God for? And I think that's what's happening. Like even with or without a God, you have to take control of your life. But you guys have to watch the God episode on Talk with Frank Goodin, and we're going to part 2 there soon. I don't want to get too preachy here.
Here's the thing. Your reasoning to me and your logic is sound on that. I think in terms of why people are turning away and all that. No, I agree with that reasoning. Man, it's so much that can and needs to happen on that. But I definitely see that reasoning.
And also when that's why I say ignorance is bliss, ignorance is harmony, and ignorance is peace. Because now we're seeing these church bigwigs get into the worst trouble of their lives. And what does social media do? They plaster it everywhere, right? Kirk Franklin is telling his son he ain't cracked this and I'll fuck you. TD just I cheated for the 10th time, but God gonna forgive me. So that's another thing that's corrupting society. I will forever blame social media. Is the ultimate destruction of humanity. I will keep saying it in this country. I will keep saying it. They're putting everybody's business out there.
You might be onto something because social media. I don't know if you know what, we are let's see, an hour and 14 minutes. I don't want to pivot the subject. I was just about to because I was about to take us somewhere else.
Don't put Pastor Frank on me because we got to do that on your page.
Well, no, I was gonna support your point about the social media because I don't know if you heard the latest news, but they Instagram is or Facebook, one of them are trying to do the whole social media little thing for kids now, for for up to 14 years old, something like that. They're trying a very targeted thing to where it's just for that particular kind of prepubescent age. It's happening. You know, they
Thanks
just
for telling me. Thanks for telling me, because I definitely look out for that. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen in my home.
They aiming. They coming for your kids, Jen. They coming for them.
I'm sure. I'm sure, and it's despicable, because now you have another problem. Now it's like, now they're going to be pedophiles. You know what I mean?
Right.
Making profiles and that. It's just, it's
Right.
terrible. But I think that social media, people are disenchanted now with religion and God, and they're doing them. But again, I don't want to get into religion, because I want to save that for your page, because it got heated over there. The heat on Frank's page.
But the cool thing is that I do believe it's kind of tangential, because, you know, we're talking about open marriages and traditionalism versus common. So it's cool that we can at least touch on those things, because they are relevant. You know, marriage is supposed to be the utmost, you know, when we think about it, the utmost of the union between one man and a woman. That's supposed to be, marriage is supposed to be it. And guess what? It's looking like with open marriages, it don't look like this. Now it's, according to Will Smith, it's, you know, the ultimate, you know, with a bunch of men and a bunch of women on both sides.
But you know how I feel. If you think that God is going to keep you faithful and loyal and happy and serving your wife and serving your husband, please, for society, keep God in your marriage and in your home. You know, that's how I feel, right?
Right.
Okay. So I'm not disagreeing with that. Please, if God's gonna do it for you, get it done.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. By all means, I am not. That's why I said I don't like the label atheist, because I am not anti-religion or the Lord. Do what you have to do, right?
It's too late.
Good.
You good? Yeah. You good. You good.
That's hilarious. Okay, oh guys, so I guess we can get out of here. This was interesting. Guys, just because you missed us live, if you're watching this and we're no longer live, please feel free to leave your comments and your questions. And please remember, Objections plays on both Frank and I's channel. So you have to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because you never know when we're going to be here, over there, over at Frank's place. So please subscribe to Talk with Frank Goodin on YouTube. Subscribe to On the Block with Jen. And stay tuned. And please, we welcome Objections. That's why we named the show Objections. And we'd love to see your beautiful faces on the panel, right? So jump on board. I am going to end it with a comment that maybe we can address. Zoe is good as ever said. Never been to a jet. There's not any options. That makes it very true. Okay, so I got two good last comments. Big Time Drum says people quickly forget that pastors and Christian people are not immune to the trials and tribulations of life, and they are just a human, as human as the next person. And Mark Randall says a person is only as good as their best option. And with the internet in general, there is now endless options that makes it very tricky to keep one's eyes on loyalty. Listen, beautiful people are always going to exist. Will Smith made reference to that in his open marriage. He said, you know, it doesn't make me a monster because I think other people are attractive. I just think it's laying in it too long. You know what I mean? Just laying in it. You have to have the wherewithal and the self-determinism to, it's like, I'm married, or I have a boyfriend, or I have a girlfriend. I shouldn't be staring at this girl. I don't even know her. She's probably an a-hole. I don't, you have to keep it moving. And I know it's hard, you know what I mean, for a lot of people, because I see a lot of marriages crumble. I know people personally who are divorced today because of someone they met on social media. So it is real. But like I said, pick someone who is built for marriage and make sure that you're someone who's built for marriage. I'm built for marriage. I see beautiful people all the time, all over the world. But I'm like, what do I want? If I want to mess around, I'm going to be single. And if I'm not going to mess around, I'm going to be committed. And I think a lot of people are not asking themselves the basic questions.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that is very true. I have to disagree. I don't think everybody's only as good as their best option, because I've been around all kinds of people. And if I've been in a relationship, I've never cheated and I've never strayed. So, you know, I don't think it's like that for everybody, but I notice men like saying that. But you know, Will Smith said he'd smash Halle Berry and Misty Cooper.
He sure did. I bet you Halle liked hearing that too.
Right? Like, hello, they still talk about me. not so good for Jada, right? When she's at the next Emmy party, right?
Right.
Yeah, I just think, you know, I don't know.
I do want to say something before you
please
close.
Do.
So not only should, of course, you subscribe to our channels, but you know what? Tell other people, like, spread the word about Objections. As you see here, Jen and I are showing very clearly that we can object with each other and strenuously and still have a blast. And have a great conversation and have fun with this conversation. We're showing it, and this is something that's rare. People are not on in these YouTube streets doing this. So when you come up, whenever you do, on my channel or on Jen's channel, you can object with us, and we've seen it and we've shown it, and have a ball, you know, letting you know exactly why you're wrong to us. so please spread that word on this show. We're showing it, we're proving it. And so I did want to make sure that I make that kind of that case before you head out, Jen.
Yeah, definitely. Objections is the shit. Mark Randall says, next time I need a heads up so I can do my makeup. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know. Subscribe to Talk with Frank Goodin, because that's where Objections is going to be next. We're going to be in your house.
Yeah, coming to my place.
Okay, we're gonna be in your house. So I'm coming in slippers.
Mm-hmm. Do you?
All right, guys. So we're out here, and also click on the other Objection shows that you see on our pages, because they are hot to death. We were a little mellow today, but we've been in some verbal fisticuffs on here that were very entertaining, but always respectful. All right, guys. So I will bid you adieu. Good night. Subscribe. Spread the word. It was good to see you all. Thank you for all the comments, even though I couldn't read all of them, right? Because I got to be here. All right, guys. So bye. Frank, any passing words?
No, thank you. I bid adieu. Everybody stay blessed until the next time.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
You know I'm leaving with OPP.
90s theme song.
All right, guys. Good night.